everyone, this is Parth Mahajan. I hope you guys are doing great and enjoying React Day Bangalore. So, about me, I am leading front end engineering at Tata 1MG, right? So, today I'm going to talk about reactive web views and how we can actually achieve native like performance with reactive web views. So, in this talk, we are going to discuss and rethink the mobile view. So now coming to what reactive web views are exactly. So reactive web views are something which we have been working upon, right? It's a library which is powering our internal web views and is responsible for the amazing performance that currently we are getting on our web views, right? I'm assuming for this talk that most of the people must be aware with the web views. But if I were to explain the web views in a single line, so I would say that web views are nothing but you are opening your web page inside your native application, be it Android or iOS, right? So with that understanding ahead, we'll need to understand the current scenario and the current demand as well. So currently, companies just not only need a fast running and intuitive application, but at the same time, they need an application which is ubiquitous across all the platforms, be it Android, iOS, mobile web, etc. Right? Now the issue with this is whenever we need multiple platform based applications, then the cost of development goes high, right? Because we need domain specific teams, domain level engineers to do that, right? So we need a solution which is inexpensive. At the same time, there is a great growth of aggregators. So, aggregator platforms or applications like Tata New, wherein we have multiple brands under a single umbrella. For example, we have Tata 1MG, Chroma, Big Basket, so on and so forth. At the same time, we have applications which have multiple verticals. For example, we have Swiggy with its Instamart or Genie, or we have Tata 1MG with diagnostics, health records, e-consults, pharmacies, so on and so forth. Right. So all these aggregator platforms or multi-vertical applications need a solution wherein they can collaborate easily, as well as they can ship their features quicker across multiple platforms. So what if I tell you that there can be a solution which not only caters to all these needs, but at the same time is really very easy for the development as well. It takes almost negligible time to move your current existing web page onto a WebView compatible screen, and it can be easily shipped across all the platforms. At Tata 1MG, we have been working upon a solution which completely delivers all these requirements at the same time is performant and gives a very seamless experience to the users. But before we hop on to the exact solution and what exactly we have done with the reactive web views, there are certain myths which I would like to burst around the web views, right? So, in general, web views, historically have a very negative image related to them. It's due to their performance issues or the kind of user experience they have to offer, or the limited features on with the web views in terms of native interactivity. But to be honest, web views have existed for a really long while now. And over the years, it have made a lot of improvements in terms of performance, in terms of the user experience as well. But having said that, you can still encounter performance issues if your web also have them too, because your web views all in all can be as fast as your web performance, your web application, right? So we are glad, and luckily at Tata 1MG we have invested a lot of time in making one of the fastest e-commerce out there, and I think it's the right time to leverage it out in the form of web views. Now, we also need to understand why web views. In an era where we have so many different frameworks coming up and offering different hybrid solutions around it. For example, you have web view based frameworks like Cordova, Ionic, PhoneGap, and many more like that. At the same time, you have something like React Native, or you have Flutter, which offers near to native performance or the native application in itself. But why web views? So the reason is that when you are using all these frameworks, you miss on to some really exciting features with which only WebView, the native API, which OEMs provide, has to offer. For example, one really very, very important feature which I think companies require at this time is OTA updates, which is over the air updates. For example, imagine a scenario wherein you have developed one application, you are shipping your product. Generally, the release cycles of native applications, if there are any native developers listening to this talk, I think they can understand this pain that the native release cycles are generally, tedious, right, and takes a lot of time. It can go roughly somewhere from a month to 3 months, right? In the worst case scenario, it can take a lot of time, right? At the same time, even if your application gets approved by your App Store or Play Store, and once it's live on your native stores as well, uh, it is not necessary that each and every user upgrades to that latest version of your application. So, for example, if you wanted to send some security bug across, or send certain fixes, etc., or do minor tweaks to your product, you would have to really wait a long time. So it hinders your experimentation, it hinders your performance. So I think over the updates is one feature which WebView offers. Even if you have shipped your application across, if you want to play around with features, send across some security fixes, it's all okay. You can do that. At the same time, for the product people who might be listening to this talk, they understand the importance of doing A/B experiments in features. So if you were to do the similar thing in a native application, you will have to do multiple versions of the same product in that particular build, and with no scope of going anything wrong anywhere. At the same time, if you do that, that would increase your application size because you are keeping multiple version of the same feature. But with web views, it's really easy to do. At the same time, if you are building multiple screens in web view, it would definitely help you retain smaller application sizes as well, right? These are certain benefits which I do not see in any other framework out there. Even if the frameworks are really evolved, even if there are so many different frameworks to choose from, I still think the core API of which the OEMs provide works the best. And using all these things not just only saves on bandwidth for the engineers, but also save a lot of bandwidth for the product people, for the QA engineers, and at the same time helps the complete development teams. Now we are going to have a quick sneak peek at the results, what we have achieved so far, and then we'll delve into what exactly we have done. So this is a video which on the left side we have the legacy web views that we used to deal with. On the right side, it is using our latest library, which is Reactive WebViews, and you can see the performance difference by yourself. And this is the health records product of Tata 1mg. So let me just quickly start it. So as you could observe, on the left side, it is taking so much time to load, while on the right side, you didn't even realize that you were switching from a native application to a web application, and you could see all the transitions, animations. You couldn't notice any loading time, any lag, etc. So this is something that you can also do with your applications. Now coming to the Huddles. So while exploring and improving, working upon the WebView part, we definitely encountered certain hurdles we had to cross. So first of all, there is no default loading strategy or any communication channel provided by the brand OEMs. For example, there is no documentation by Apple or Google on how exactly the communication should happen between the web views and the native OEMs. Then there is no loading strategy defined by the, again, anywhere there is no strategy around the loading, how the web view should be loaded and further proceeded from there. Also, as we have just seen, that initially the web view takes a lot of time to load. If not tweaked with the loading of the web view, they take somewhere around 1 or 2 seconds. And also, the user experience is not native like, unless you really work on it and create a solution around it. Also, even if, let's say, you have worked around all the scenarios, you have and you have loaded your page, you still have to deal with the time to interactivity. So even if your page is loaded, it doesn't actually mean that it will be interactive too. And that's a generic issue with the web performance. But with the help of web views and with the help of native OEMs, I think we can deal with it. And let's jump on to how we have dealt with all these performance issues. So first of all, we have created one communication channel between the web views and the native OEMs, which we call it as an event bus. So event bus is responsible for any sort of communication between any native application and your web views, and also at the same time, uh, you have a lot of different SDKs downloaded on your web, which are generally third party SDKs. For example, you have several analytics scripts, you have marketing scripts, GA, GTM, so on and so forth. But with the help of event bus, you do not need to load all those scripts. So this definitely improves your time to interactivity by a huge number, right? At the same time, if the SDKs of native application is dealing with all this third party scripts because they already have them by default, so you do not need to add any weight to it. Second thing that we improved was the loading time. Instead of the native WebView API having to tell the web browser when exactly the page is loaded, we did the vice versa. Now the web application tells the native when exactly the loader can go and when exactly the web page is ready to load. And surprisingly, this also saves a lot of time. And last but not the least, we worked on the user experience and the user delight to add in transitions, animations, and then document it well so that it is really very easy for any developer to use any existing interface and start their work with. So the cost of development has gone really a low. So again, this is a comparison between a native application and the web view. Again, this is our Tata 1MG product, right? So this is the home page, and this is the latest home that we see. And we have got some surprisingly interesting findings over here. So this is a 2G speed. We are really doing a hard benchmark over here. And as you can see, in some scenarios, WebView not just compares with the native performance, but is also able to beat it. As you can see now, the WebView is just waiting for the page to load, the native page to load, and WebView has already loaded its page. We are able to achieve this because the web performance of our web application is really good at this time. We are doing partial loading of the widgets, we are doing chunking, server-side rendering, etc. And that is resulting in the speed difference that we see here. Unlike the native where we have to load the complete page at once, on the web we get that leverage, right? Next, coming to the chunkiest part, the result summary, right? Now, the web view is as fast as its native counterpart, if not faster. We also have improved the efficiency of the web views, not just by 100% or 200%, but by 400%. Earlier, it used to take somewhere around 2 seconds or more than even more than that to load the complete page, but we have brought it down to somewhere close to 500 milliseconds. Also, the time to interactive is twice as fast because we have offloaded all the third-party activities, and the development time is already negligible. Now the vision, not the right one, but the actual vision. So the vision of developing web views would be taking the web to the next level, wherein we are not just dependent upon any framework to make it cross-platform, but web in itself is capable enough to run all the UI-based screens components on several platforms, right? And what I think personally is that the web view should, become the next sort of the thing wherein each and every customer, each and every business, no matter what the application is, the customers are able to experience and use the web views without even noticing any difference. Also, at Tata 1MG, we believe in sharing and giving back to the community. So we already have written several articles around how we have made these engineering improvements, and also we'll be coming out with new blogs and articles on the 1MG's publication on the Medium around the implementation part on how to actually implement this further on the code level, right? Also, if we get really good response, we'll be also looking forward to open sourcing our WebView library, on which we have built upon our current WebView pages. And I would really nudge you guys to go and experience it yourself. So in the end, thanks everyone. I hope this would be a lightning talk as expected, and you guys would be really motivated to try something new and have a great day. Also, please feel free to reach out to me at any of these platforms. I'll be more than happy to discuss more technologies, anything and everything around front end.